From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris here on a Tuesday. A good show on tap for you this morning. We'll open up the phone lines if you want to jump in. But we're talking about the great city of Nashville, the growth, what's happened here, the tourism, you know, the things that are happening, whether or not some of what we've seen in terms of the explosion here is tapering off, which, you know, you could fool me based on all the hotels and new restaurants and everything else happening. But, you know, what really is happening with the city? And we can take your calls, questions, comments, where we go with our guest, who is really, you know, I was just talking to him before we went on about how long he's been here, and we'll get into that. He doesn't look the age of how long he's been here, to be honest with you. He hasn't changed.
Clark of tourism.
Bush Spiridon's with us this morning, the Dick Clark of tourism. I like that. National Convention and Visitors. Is it Bureau Corporation?
Corporation.
It's
now.
corporation.
We did change that a few years ago.
President and CEO. I was telling him that he and I sat with Larry Britton with the early days of MorningLine. What, 20 years ago? You've been here 25 plus
yes.
years, and back then you said it was part of the
We were part of the chamber.
And but when you first came here with this, Nashville's a nice town, okay? But gosh, from that to there, and in terms of growth and everything, you are in the middle of all of that. I mean,
thanks.
Back then, I mean, even when we talked, you talked about where the city was going. I don't know, did you ever dream it would be the city the way it is and the sustained growth we've seen?
No, I couldn't say that. We had a plan, and even back when I first got here, I felt like Nashville had more potential than it was living up to. When we really started driving the new direction, it's about 14 years ago. Now we thought we could move the needle, but not break the barometer.
Oh man! I mean, you've been here through the coming of the Titans. Right, obviously. You know, the Preds, I guess. I mean, those types of things, for someone like me who's a sports fan, and when I first moved here, I guess the Predators, I guess they weren't here yet, but I mean, that's part of what's made this city initially, to me, a major market.
The NFL and the NHL changed the city for the better and forever. It made that statement that we could say all day long, we're a big, a little city, a town,
and
or
music,
city.
And we've got country
have all
music,
these things,
and
but it's this kind of hidden secret. And, there was the hee-haw perception, which kept people from giving Nashville its
which was shot in this very studio, by the way. It was. You can't tell now.
I smell the hay.
It was. It's hard to get that out of the building. All right, but you're right. They had that hee-haw view, but I mean, and some of the growth was starting then, but boy, to where it is right now.
No, it is an evolution. It is very unusual in my profession to be able to help, you know, steer and guide what the product looks like. Most of the time, those of us that do what I do, you come in and you sell what's there.
Yeah.
You don't have a chance to shift it, and really help create the vision and in this case the success. But Nashville had that opportunity, and I would have told you when I moved here 5 or 6 years, this is a stepping stone. I moved from Baton Rouge to here. The next step was that you know, major city. Fortunately for me,
and for
we
us,
both got to grow together, and I didn't have to move to do the things that I knew I wanted to do. NFL, convention center, NHL, big events. It's crazy.
It's funny. You are exactly. I could say the same exact thing. When I came here, and I came here from Los Angeles, but there were for other reasons that, you know, came out here for that. But my thought was the same thing. I'm coming to Nashville, great place. And, you know, maybe at some point then I'll get back to the big city, you know. But this became the big city for me. And
it
for
has
better
the best
or for
of
worse.
both
Yeah,
worlds.
it has the best of both worlds. And so we didn't leave because it grew. It grew with us.
I say to that point, I helped recruit conveniently a friend of mine to leave as my counterpart in Chicago. When he told the search firm to call me, and they called, and we had a conversation. But you know, as soon as I hung up and stepped back, I went, why? Chicago doesn't have anything I want. We have great dining now. We have rising football team. We have a great convention center. We have a brand that nobody can touch in music, and have the quality of life of a smaller city. And so thanks but no thanks, and felt good.
That's exactly
and,
the way
10
I
years
looked at
ago, 15 years ago, I would have killed to have Chicago call me.
And
now I'm like,
now not. I mean, I'm not interested in going. I just am not. Well, I mean, anyway, can you explain to folks just what is your primary task as president and CEO? I mean, are you, because you know what you've done in terms of helping steer this. Of course, you had cooperation of mayors, you had cooperation of the city council, obviously the business leaders. Are you a go-between? Are you something of a lobbyist to the council and to the state at times? What would you say your primary role is?
Well, in a ideal world, or by definition, we're a sales and marketing corporation. So our job is economic development in the field of hospitality, tourism.
And pretty much representing the business interests, number one?
Yes.
All right.
So we have a contract with Metro, so they're our client, and bring new dollars in. Import, we say import sales tax. So that is my role. But we have a board who has done a great job of helping paint a vision, long-term strategic plan. So my secondary role would be implement that strategic plan. And third would be make sure on a day-to-day basis we are driving sales so that our future looks bright. So we just finished our fiscal year, June 30th, and we sold 1.3 million future room nights. So that's how we know if we're doing our job. Yesterday, last week, tomorrow, I can't impact those a lot, but I can make sure we're sustaining our success. Now, it won't continue this rocket ship it's on, but it's got a new level, a new normal, and make sure we don't drop back down.
Okay, so if you say about bringing in the business and keeping it going, I want to know, when was the last time you had some type of opportunity come our way and you just felt, okay, because I know when you represent business and money, but do you also step aside and say, okay, this means money would come in, but in the big picture, it doesn't fit in what we really want for this community? When was the last time, and without naming names, you turned something down? Or maybe that, not that you alone had the power to do that, but you recommended, you know what, I see this as an opportunity, and it would bring money to the area, but you know what, it doesn't fit. Or do you never say no to big money deals?
No, we absolutely say no, and some would be, and maybe in a case it might be a TV show, but they want to be paid. We don't buy our PR, so we might help with logistics.
Well, now, did we buy some? What did we do with Nashville? The Nashville when it was, well, and it's still going on, I guess, no longer on ABC.
I guess I put that in a different category
because it was the city and it was such a promotional.
It's about the brand.
Yeah, and it was great. It was great. No question.
Songwriters. It's really in a different category by itself. So good call, though.
I was just thinking, but I understand that show is about the city, and no doubt that show has done a lot for the city.
And there's a good example for me would be there's a very huge international TV show, and it's reinventing itself, and they want to film in 7 or 8 countries around the world. And they came to us from a previous relationship, and we've worked out a deal, and we're going to help underwrite some specific costs, but we're not buying the airtime, we're not buying the show, but we're helping them with some savings, and we'll put a little bit of money up. But we would never go, here's a check, we want you here. In some of the, well, in the world of Donald Trump, the Miss USA pageant has called a few times, and I won't name most of them, but in this case, it's a huge check to write. It's meals, it's transportation, it's rooms, it's facilities, and we just go, look, that's not what we do. Reality shows will call.
Okay, now what about more as opposed to those types of things? Are there like business? I think a lot of people see the growth here. Or as we go, we don't want Nashville to become like the sprawl of Atlanta.
Couldn't agree more.
Oh, okay. Do you? Okay. Now Atlanta has a lot of. It's a big, wonderful city, but it's just, you know. And so I'm thinking we want to be careful of that. Do you ever see things where this might have been something that Atlanta did, but we're not going to do this?
Yeah, we see it, you know, on a regular basis. We see what our competition does and how they'll recruit.
What's our main competition, by the way? Would you say it's like Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte?
No, it's Atlanta, New Orleans, and Orlando are our primary competitors.
You mean for conventions and things like that?
And leisure.
And leisure.
So, economic development is a different category than hospitality, and we play on the main center court at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
We play in the big stadiums when it comes to our industry, which is kind of a nice complement. We're probably the only city in that, let's say, top 15 markets that doesn't have a beach, a theme park, gaming, mountains, some major engine.
Yeah.
We did it on the back of music, and it worked.
That's a great point.
It's a niche that we can own now.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we've got some calls. Betty and others stay there. If you want to jump in, ask a question of Butch about the future, which we'll talk about as well. The number's on the screen, 737-7587. And they say Nashville is the friendliest city in the country. Is that right? I mean, I
think so.
He's a nice guy. We'll tell you about that. There's been some kudos coming in lately. It's one after the other. We'll be back with more right after this. Stay with us.